right, I'm going to get us started off. Good evening. If you haven't met me yet, I am Alan Tousignan. I'm the director of the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo, and I'm following in the footsteps of Jonathan Meggs, my mentor, Seward Hiley, another Alan mentor, and Frank Trevor himself, who much to my chagrin I never met. On behalf of all of us, past and present, welcome to the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo. So exciting to see all of you here, and we thank you for traveling from far and near to celebrate this big moment in the zoo's history to forever cement the legacies of Frank the teacher, mentor, and Tom the student, Millbrook class of 1959, who always credited Frank and the zoo for starting him on his career path and life's passion. In keeping with that theme, it is my great pleasure to introduce our head of school, my former advisee mentee, now my boss, and strong zoo supporter, Mr. Jonathan Downs.
Thanks, Doc. Can you hear me back there okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Faculty, staff, trustees, former trustees, honorary trustees, friends, family members of the Trevors, family members of the Lovejoys, welcome. We're really delighted to have you here today. For those of you whom I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, my name is John Downs. I am an alumnus, class of 1998 at Millbrook School. I am the former advisee. I'm the continued advisee of Dr. Alan Tousignan, and it is my honor and privilege of being Millbrook's 7th head of school. I want to thank you for making every effort for being with us tonight, tomorrow, and celebrating this legacy of Frank Trevor, Tom Lovejoy, and this one-of-a-kind zoo. Friends will fill in the outline of this tomorrow, but the framework of this renaming is quite simple. A brilliant teacher, Frank Trevor. A bold idea. A school with a zoo with a school. An inspired boy, Tom Lovejoy. And the result is a better world. These three ingredients, a teacher, a student, and big ideas, are the essential elements of teaching and learning and making the world a better place. Shakespeare asks of us, what's in a name? Everything now is in the name. It's all right there for the world to understand this zoo's purpose, its power, and its potential. Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo, the teacher, the idea, the boy, a better world. Alan, will you introduce our next speaker? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Advisee. A number of years ago, we had a wonderful connection to the history of the zoo when Frank and Janet Trevor's granddaughter, Abigail, visited the zoo with her sons. It is my pleasure to welcome Abigail Doan to the podium to give us a peek into the life of the Trevor family and the Trevor Zoo.
I want to say I don't usually wear heels when I come towards the zoo, but I thought this event was going to be indoors. And as someone mentioned, it's actually really good with lots of rain and footage. Good. Anyhow, thanks for having me. You can hear me? Yeah. I'm going to read this because I'll get emotional and it'll be easier for you. Returning to Millbrook School for this dedication is such an honor. As a member of the Trevor family, specifically the granddaughter, Frank and Janet Trevor, it always feels like home when I see the steeple of Flagler Memorial Chapel from the Route 44 turnoff onto School Road. Thank you for inviting me for this very special gathering. and the opportunity to celebrate the zoo's new name and future initiatives. The Trevor family is now geographically dispersed, living in the atolls of the Marshall Islands, the desert Southwest, a farming community in upstate New York, and in my case, New York City, Eastern Europe, and a farm in Italy. Although we do not gather as often as we would like, we remain united by a collection of stories from the early days of Millbrook School and the formation of the Trevor Zoo. These colorful tales highlight acts of community service, local environmental engagement, and our respect and admiration for those who have entered my grandparents' lives over the years. A significant chapter in this timeline is Thomas Lovejoy's role in inspiring my grandfather as a biology teacher. One might even speculate that Frank Trevor may have finally met his match after that first class with Tom as his student. I have seen archived photos of my grandfather in his science classroom, and there is no doubt that these were his happiest and most spirited moments. He loved sharing his materials and research, especially with Millbrook students eager to challenge his ideas and eccentric views. From what I've been told, Tom's innate curiosity about the natural world inspired my grandparents to open their vast library of specimens from the animal and plant kingdoms, along with marine biology findings from their underwater dives in the Caribbean. Perhaps they sensed they had found a student who could be trusted with these resources and who would later work hard to preserve the environment for our collective future. I know a little something about how it felt to gain access to these nature archives, as one-on-one exchanges with my grandparents during my childhood greatly shaped my future work in arts, design, and preservation outreach. Each lesson with Frank and Janet Trevor opened the door to new discoveries, raised more questions, and cultivated wonder and deep observation. By the time I reached middle school, my grandparents encouraged me to study diagrams and scientific plates in the textbook, Animals Without Backbones, while also exploring the ethics of communicating with animals through Dr. Dolittle, coloring maps and geographical charts of species in their respective habitats, and inspecting tide pools and lichen outcroppings on our family's island in Maine. During this time, I also made trips to the Millbrook campus, which often felt like a pilgrimage. I collected more anecdotes about the Trevors, fed the animals, and one day in 1973, played my flute alongside bagpipers at my grandfather's memorial service. My mother, also an Abigail, could undoubtedly share stories of her adopted brother's Tom's time with the family in much more vivid detail. Her voice is the one you hear during interviews with Joan O'Meigs in the video at the zoo's visitor center. Unfortunately, she could not be here this evening. Still, I know that her time lobstering in her dory with Tom off the coast of Maine and letting him ride her donkey Bobo along School Road are memories that were very much a part of her beyond the classroom education. Millbrook is a unique place because of these multi-layered interactions and the memories that serve as touchstones for referencing and sharing as we navigate the world beyond. With this in mind, the dedication of the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo feels like the most fitting evolution, one my grandparents would have wholeheartedly supported. As dedicated educators, they were always sought to identify those who could carry on their lessons, tell the story even better, or delve deeper into the complex issues and urgencies they were eager to highlight. They embraced their own quirks as a way to draw others in and demonstrate how uniqueness can thrive in any habitat or setting. The Trevor household was teeming with natural wonders and evidence of biodiversity, Shells, that's an understatement.
Look behind you. Look behind you.
Not wearing heels, but much better dressed. Oh, yes. Trevor household, right. Shells and carefully preserved coral samples on the kitchen counters, nesting snakes in the upstairs bathroom, my grandmother's treasured tropical plants under sun lamps, and of course, Caesar the cheetah seated with a shiny red bow beneath the Christmas tree one year. Thomas Lovejoy played a central role in this extraordinary environment, and his time with my family undoubtedly sparked essential ideas and potential next steps, whether in academia, the field, or navigating complex environmental negotiations. The Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo will serve as a living library, fostering new legacies and stories, and as a sanctuary that brings biology to life. Thank you.
I'll get in trouble, but I feel compelled to tell one very quick story. Quite a while ago, in about 1999-2000, I became the Dean of Students for a year. And the real caveat, and I'm staring at Drew, was that I said, I get to move into the house, and if I don't stay the Dean, I get to stay there. And so I've been happily living in Trevor House since 1999-2000, and I have many of my own Trevor stories, including it continues to be a household that has lots of garter snakes in it in the spring. Thank you, Abigail. I know it must have been hard to try and condense down so many stories and memories. Of course, no one knew Tom better than our next speakers. Kata, Millbrook class of 1986, Betsy and Annie, Tom's daughters. Kata will speak on behalf of the Lovejoy family.
So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I mean, this is just such a special day for us and for the Trevor family and for the Millbrook community. I know that there has been a great deal of hard work and a great deal of planning in a couple of years, right, Kelly? To make this day so special. And my sisters and I are so grateful. I especially want to thank Kelly Portals, Alan Tusino, Drew Casertano, John Downs, Dan Cohen, the Zoo Committee, and of course the Trevor family. I know that our dad, Papa, would be very humbled to learn that the Trevor Zoo is being renamed to include his name alongside that of Frank Trevor. After all, Frank Trevor was the most important and influential mentor to Papa when he was young. I sincerely believe that if it were not for the Millbrook School, and particularly for Frank Trevor, Papa would not have had the successful career in conservation that he had. In fact, before he came to Millbrook, he believed he would follow in his father's footsteps and have a career in life insurance and work in New York City. So, luckily for all of us and the planet, and thanks to the Millbrook School, his career took a completely different path to that of conservation and the Brazilian Amazon. Papa often credited Frank Trevor as the single most inspirational figure in his life. He was the person who got Papa excited about biology. I can only imagine how incredibly touched he would be if he were here today. Papa was often referred to as the godfather of biodiversity and is best known as a champion for nature and for the conservation of biodiversity throughout the world, especially in the Amazon. He dedicated his entire life to it, working for over 55 years in the Brazilian Amazon as a scientist, conservationist, and an ambassador to nature. His accomplishments throughout his career are impressive and numerous. In the Amazon, he and his colleagues created the Biological Dynamics of Forest Fragments project in 1979. This project was established to study how forest fragmentation affects the Amazon's biodiversity and is one of the world's largest and longest-running ecological experiments. Thankfully, the BDFF is still in existence today, working to document the biodiversity of the Amazon forest, and it is certainly one of his greatest legacies. Papa was an incredible communicator of science. He brought policymakers, celebrities, scientists, educators, and influencers to the Amazon to experience the magic of the forest year after year. In doing so, he was able to communicate how important conservation of the Amazon is to the entire planet. In describing these trips, he said of the visitors, after 3 days and 3 nights, they can't help but internalize that it's a living planet that we live on and benefit from. It affects them in a way that is beyond sheer logic. And I know that those in this room who have had the opportunity to go down to Camp 41 can certainly attest to that. And also we are taking people there still, so I think there's some information somewhere back in the building, right? about that, so let us know if you're interested. As if his work in the Amazon were not enough, he also pioneered the field of conservation biology. Conceived the concept of debt for nature swaps, advised the PBS television series Nature, and popularized the term biodiversity. He advised political leaders and organizations, including 4 US presidents. He was also a member of the National Academy of Sciences, a National Geographic Explorer at Large, and the recipient of many awards, including the Blue Planet Prize and the Hubbard Award, the highest award given by the National Geographic Society and shared by the likes of Ernest Shackleton, Neil Armstrong, and Jane Goodall. There is another crucial aspect to his legacy that I think many people in this room have experienced themselves. Papa knew that he needed to support and encourage others to multiply his impact. Through countless small acts, he encouraged a broad range of people to continue the hard work of conservation and, as he would say, make good trouble. He listened, he wrote you notes, he took your phone call, or at least called you back as soon as he could. And he showed up in person, even at the board meetings of the more than 50 boards that he sat on. He sincerely wanted to hear what you were doing and made you feel important. I believe he cultivated this aspect of his character during his years at the Millbrook School. As a Millbrook graduate myself, I can certainly attest to the incredible support and care that each student receives at this school. And so it is under the mentorship of Frank Trevor and the loving community of the Millbrook School that he was shaped into the successful, supportive, caring, and funny person that he was. So I want to end by telling you my favorite Millbrook story from my dad's time here, and it is about Caesar. It's my favorite story because I think it reflects the fun-loving side of his personality so perfectly. And this is Caesar over here, by the way. Yeah. Some of you already know this story, and I think there are some variations to it. But the story that I remember him telling me and my sisters goes something like this. Caesar, the cheetah at the Trevor Zoo, was under Papa's care while he was a student here. For fun, Papa liked to walk Caesar on a leash down to the football field to watch Saturday games. I mean, what could go wrong? Well, one Saturday, Caesar spotted a deer in a nearby field, so you can imagine. He took off as he could not resist. It took some time and a bit of chaotic running around by Papa and others, but thankfully they eventually caught up to Caesar, where he was found lounging in the sun in that nearby field. It seems that the deer had gotten away. Sadly, Caesar was never invited to watch football again, much to my dad's disappointment. So I will leave you with that imagery in your mind as I thank you all again for being here to celebrate the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo. And again, special thanks to everyone in the Millbrook community who's made this day so special.
Thank you. I'm going to try to hold it together. I gave a talk at AZA. In the middle of the talk, I mentioned Tom and my friendship and relationship, and I couldn't finish for a little bit. So, okay, in the fall of 1984, shortly after my arrival at Millbrook, fresh out of college and knowing next to nothing about zoos, I met Kelly Macaluso, now Kelly Close, a sophomore at the time, who knew way more about the zoo than me. Kelly, along with Letitia Boyd, among others, became my mentors to get me up to speed on the zoo. Kelly is a 3-time veteran of the zoo. First as a student of the Trevor Teaching Zoo, and I wore my Trevor Teaching Zoo pin, that was the name of it in those days. Then as a parent to Issy, class of 2019, at the Trevor Zoo. And finally, as the chair of the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo Board Committee. Welcome, Kelly.
All right, thanks, Alan. Not advisor, but might as well have been, and certainly my mentee. I like being here. It is an honor and a joy to be here tonight to recognize and celebrate two giants in the worlds of Millbrook, education and conservation. It's particularly special for me to be here with Kata to celebrate your dad, and to be standing here as the chair of the first ever Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo Committee. It's kind of a pinch me moment because actually I arrived in 83. You arrived in 84. I was a sophomore. You were not anyway. We can't do the forms, but it's a pinch me moment because when I arrived here in 1983, I really wanted little to do with people. And I found my perfect, Ellen, I found my perfect place here at the zoo. And I'd like to thank Drew for conceiving of the idea of this committee, for trusting me to take on this role 6 years ago. To Paul Stafford and Steve Clemens, my fellow trustees, for your thoughtful engagement in this committee. It's been exciting, it's been a lot of fun, and it's a privilege to be in this role. I was fortunate to have several opportunities to spend time with Tom, both here on campus and with, through my friendship with Kata. And Tom always said that you inspire and educate people more by doing and less by lecturing. And I experienced that personally. He believed that the more you could offer hands-on, the ability to feel, hear, touch, smell, see, to truly experience, the better you would learn and the better you would be inspired. And I've realized that he probably not only developed that at Millbrook, but certainly had it, that concept was refined under Frank's guidance. The letter that was shared recently from Abigail, Trevor, tells stories that clearly made it evident that Tom learned by doing, as we saw with Caesar the cheetah. Sorry. Learning by doing and experiential learning and hands-on, that's what we do here at Millbrook. It's what we do really well, and it's what we do better than anybody here at the zoo. We're in a category of 1. We are the only high school with a campus attached to a zoo. Or a zoo attached to a campus. Anyway.
First play was right.
That's what, so, no other high school students in the country are getting firsthand real-world experience that are creating the next generation of Frank Trevors, Tom Lovejoys, and leaders in conservation. It's pretty exciting. As a committee, we've accomplished much. We have an aspirational long-range master plan. Hopefully, it's floating away. It's somewhere out here for you all to look at. We're standing here tonight at the new Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo, which is truly meant to be and a long time in the making. We're in the midst of designing an animal hospital, and we have a really exciting future ahead of us that will allow Millbrook students to continue Frank and Tom's important work, to continue honoring them, to make them proud, and to leave this world better than they found it. Thank you to Alan Tusignan, to Drew Casertano, to John Downs, to Bill Menard, for ensuring the inevitability of the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo for Millbrook students, for this community, and for the world. Also need to acknowledge, because none of this would be possible without the tireless efforts of Jess. I don't even know her. Jess, Kylene, Frank, Julie, Dan, and the rest of the zoo crew. You guys definitely showed your ability to pivot tonight, so thank you. Nancy Stahl, our Director of Philanthropy, Jennifer Costella, Diane, Corey, your creativity, your thoughtful attention to detail have made tonight what it is. And thank you, because I saw you out there in bare feet trying to pull pollen out so the water would drain, and you guys made it happen. I didn't think that I was going to have to say that, but here we are. As we unveil a new chapter for the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo, let us honor their memories by continuing their mission, nurturing curiosity, promoting stewardship, and ensuring the future where biodiversity thrives. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support, and please join us tomorrow as we cut the ribbon and officially open the Trevor-Lovejoy Zoo.